All right, we're about to kick it off. First of all, going to get a big round of applause for Ed for coming all the way out. Everyone bunch up as close as you can, it'll be easier to hear that way. Is the volume okay on the mic? Yeah. No.
This is a Q&A, and the way it's going to work is everything goes, and I'm just going to walk around and we're going to talk. Most speeches I've ever been to in seminars, everyone falls asleep. No one knows what the hell was said anyways. Everyone has certain ideas of what they want to know, and the only way to get out is to ask questions. So there's nothing you can't ask. If I don't like it, I'll just say no. Pretty simple. You know, as I did, a lot of you have talked to me already. As I walked around today, that's all it is. It's just having a conversation with a bunch of friends and everyone talking. Understand?
Yes, Mr. Coan.
All right.
So for those that don't know, tell a few of the guys about some of your...
I started lifting in 1980. I tried bodybuilding, it was horrible. I really just didn't like the diet part. I didn't like the feeling of getting small and weak. It wasn't my thing. And then I saw Bill Kazmaier on TV on Nationals that used to be televised. And he was like 150 kilos with abs. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I mean, of course, I didn't reach the height. And ever since then, I just loved it. All I did was just read the magazines and learn and experiment. And I mean, when I first started lifting, I maxed out every single lift every week until I got up to a certain point. And I'm lucky I didn't get hurt at that time. And then just kept reading and learning and developing my own little thing. Most routines work, but it all depends on the numbers you pick. If your ego gets in the way about 3/4 of the way through, you're screwed. Everything feels like shit, you miss your lifts, or you get hurt, and everyone always blames the routine fault, when it wasn't, it was your numbers picking. If you pick the right numbers at the beginning, you get through all the way to the end and you make a lot of gains. A lot of people don't think it that way. They think, this is what I lifted at this meet, I want to lift 50 kilos more at the next. They don't think, I want to go up 15 kilos more for 3 meets a year for the next 5 years, and look where you end up. All of a sudden you got huge world records and are a world champion and everything else. They don't look at it that way. That's why they never get there. They don't plan ahead. So it's actually simple. You just got to control yourself. When you feel good in the gym, it doesn't mean you go heavier. It means you stick to the program, because that means you're getting stronger. All right. Individual lifts, assistance exercise, sets, reps, anything you want to know. Diet, nutrition, pretty simple. Okay?
I want to hear all of it. Tell them what you did for assistance work. I want to hear all of it.
Well, see, the assistance work, mainly without a lot of equipment, was based on the bodybuilding exercises and just changing your grip. Now, with equipment, it's all the extra, the board presses and a lot of the bands and chains and stuff like that. But we didn't have that at that time. So it was, and the bench press was wide grip benches, more pause benches, benching with your feet up, close grip benches, inclines, close grip inclines, dips, killing your triceps. So it was based on bodybuilding stuff that you threw in to figure out where your weakness was. In the deadlift, there was stiff leg deadlifts, bent over rows, chin-ups, heavy shrugs, little things like that. But my thing was, I didn't want a weakness in my body. So if I was weak at an exercise, no matter what it was, that means there's a weakness there. If I couldn't do a bent row with a certain amount of weight, that means there was a weakness in my mid or upper back. I couldn't have that. If I wasn't good at chin-ups, well, then I would be doing crazy amounts of chin-ups or pull-downs or whatever I could. I didn't want a weakness there either. The same with a tricep exercise. If you're weak at one tricep exercise, beat the crap out of it. Get stronger in that exercise. The same with any leg exercise. That's what I learned. That's what worked. Is you don't want a weakness in your body.
So what was a typical training program for you? Like, run through one of your typical sort of, what would you do?
In the squat, it was always basic squat. For getting ready for a meet, basic squat, pause squats.
And would you do that all the way up until a meet? Or
All the way up to at least 2 weeks. Because if it wasn't broke all the way up, why not do it all the way up? As long as I'm not trying to max out on pause squats, your assistant exercise, because as long as you remember it's an assistant exercise to help the main one. You're not going in a bent row contest or a pause squat contest or anything like that. But you do want to get stronger.
What would be the lowest sort of rep range you'd peak the pause squats to alongside the main squats?
3.
So just heavy triple.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple sets or just one heavy set?
2 at the most, because I already did so much work. If you put the right amount of work into your main exercise, you really don't got a lot left to do anything else. So you have to drop enough weight so the percentage of what the weight you're going to use is going to be lighter, but it can be used to your advantage based on how you use it. In other words, pause squat, how hard you explode out of the hole, stuff like that.
Ed,
Yes.
when you started in 1980, what I want to know is one thing that you speak about is completely different than everyone else, is you talk about baby steps. Small gains, long-term career, because obviously lifting a lot of weight, a lot of pressure on tendons, muscles, etc. So can you go through 10 minutes or whatever it takes, how you got to from what weight, what you were lifting back then, and then slowly take us through the journey?
Sure.
Because what's happening now is there's so many things accessible to people to take shortcuts, be it gear, be it hormones, be it whatever. So people want to get too big like you quickly and they break down. So I like what you're saying.
Because it really can't be done quickly. It takes a longer process. When I started in 1980, my first meet, I was 4'11", 98 pounds. And by the time I actually competed at 16 years old, it was, I weighed like 150 pounds in my first meet. And I squatted 220 kilos, benched like 135, and deadlifted 225.
And how old?
16.
226.
Yeah. But actually, the squat racks didn't go low enough because I was so damn short. They had to take the weight off and put it on my back, and then I had to try to walk back. I missed it twice. That was my opener. But it's where I went from there. I never thought of I have to lift this certain amount of weight. My thought process always was I want to get better. So every single meet, after every single meet, I laid down a new base with basic bodybuilding with powerlifting in it to get stronger and work on my weak points, like I just said. And then if my base got stronger, at the meet you're stronger. And then you do it again. But you keep a record. I was like, do you ever see that? Wasn't there a movie with Jim Carrey, like 23 or something, where you see all these numbers written down? I had hundreds of numbers on papers written all over the place at all times, figuring out what my routine was going to be, what my sets and reps were going to be over longer periods of time. Because I didn't want to screw up. And that way you don't really deviate from the plan.
Did you base those numbers on percentages of the number?
No, I based it on what I did before. You don't have a percentage to base it on until you actually max out. So I just based everything on what I did before. And I never really went too much by percentages, because you'll see people all the time, especially with big guys. Some people can do reps, they're really good at them. Some people can go heavy, they're really good at them. So the percentages don't always work the same for bigger or little guys, or guys that are in shape or not. Or sometimes you got to get in shape to get in shape.
So did you pick a number, like based on, you do a meet in say January, did you then pick a number for your meet in the middle of the year or towards the end of the year and work everything out based on that number, or would you just?
No, I based it on what I did in the last meet, or what my gym max was, whatever it can be. Because not everyone wants to compete, they just want to get stronger. And I would say, okay, this is what I did to get here. Now if I increase this, and this over this many weeks, as long as it's reasonable, by the end you're going to be a hell of a lot stronger. And then I'd get ready for the comp. Then my off-season work would flow right into my comp. So it's like one long year of training, but it always flows into another.
So when you say off-season, you would never have a period of no training. You would always be training.
Yeah.
So you would.
I never really took off.
Yeah, because a lot of people will train, say, for a few cycles for a contest, and then they'll do nothing for the rest of the year or whatever.
That's why it's just getting weak.
Yeah, and then after they started.
So you're losing muscle, getting weak. I don't see any point in it at all. For real. I mean, it's. Of course, everyone needs a rest now and then. But look. If you plan out your training right and you're not overtraining, then you shouldn't be overtrained. You know, it's actually simple, but it's tough because when you feel strong as shit, everyone wants to go. And like I said, that just means you're strong as heck because your training's been working and you're strong. But still stick to your goal. Don't deviate from that, or else it's like, you know, running up a flight of stairs. You run up one step at a time, you get there. You try to take 3 and you trip and fall. You never get there or you get hurt. It's not worth it. Stick to the original plan because you got a long-term goal. If all you want to do is just go out at a meet and go crazy and see how much you can lift, that's fine. That's your money, but you're never going to end up a winner. Never.
There's a lot of RPE-based stuff coming out now. Like, you know, you work to a 9 out of 10. So on a good day, you do a lot heavier. On a bad day, it'll be, you know, a bit less. So that's sort of based on the principle that when you're feeling strong, go for it, and when you're feeling crummy, pull it back.
Yeah, but then you're never peaking. You're never reaching for a goal. It's just how I feel on the day. The idea is to set up your training so it's increasing and you're never missing. If all you are is going on a day, it's like, I feel great today, I'll do as much as I can. You'll never get there. Never, ever.
So your training was like based on the progression and continuously getting stronger?
Yeah.
So
It was always based on how am I going to get stronger. And I said at the beginning, almost any routine can work, as long as you pick your numbers correctly and you're not an idiot.
how would your like off-season training and leading to a comp, like how would that differ in terms of your, like, if you always want to progress,
Okay.
you just sort of could be going
Yeah,
up.
it would go like this. All my off season was always raw, just a belt at the most, and I would work up to heavy triples or a single, sometimes even. And then as I got ready for the meet, right away the next week I would add in knee wraps, and I would drop all the weights down and start with some sets of 5 for 3 weeks. Then I would put the bottom part of the suit on for 2 weeks of 5s, 2 weeks of 3, a week of 2, and I was at the meet. But you know, the material in some of the old time suits are different than now, is they gave a lot more, so they're easier to learn. There was less learning curve. I could put my straps up myself, but some of the material now is so thick that sometimes you need a little bit more time into it if you're not used to it. But so it would just kind of flow right into it. I didn't need that much time to get ready because I was already strong.
So you obviously just focus on getting strong or come just get.
Yeah.
Alright.
A couple weeks after the meet, would you begin to taper down, or would you keep getting heavier?
No, after the meet, if I even took a week off, a lot of times I would take
I mean before the meet.
before the meet.
So
My last heavy day.
12 weeks, and then maybe at week 8 you begin to taper down.
My last heavy day in the squat would usually be 13 days out.
And what's heavy? Is it 95% or a max or?
No, it'd be like a heavy. I never maxed out in the gym. It would be like a heavy double, somewhere in the 90s. You can only stay at 90% or above for so long before you peak.
Would that number then determine your attempt selection?
Yeah, it would only determine my first attempt to selection. How you feel on the day has nothing. Well, it has something to do with the training, but it has nothing to do with anything on that day. You make your first attempt and say, "This is what I feel good for on my second," and this is how you base your third. The idea always is to go 9 for 9, to try 2 at least.
Why 13 days out? 2 weeks?
That's just how it worked. I always squat on Monday, and I usually lifted on the Saturday or Sunday.
So 2 weeks, not 1 week out?
Yeah, no.
That was last squat. What about
Bench
last?
bench was 10 days. I needed less time to get ready, or less recovery in the bench.
You did?
And the deadlift was more like 17 days.
And in that time, did you go to the gym, do any speed work?
Oh yeah, I still did work, just enough to stay tight and recover.
What kind of maximum sort of rep range were you working
My favorite reps were 5s and triples.
So at the start of our program,
I couldn't hear it too.
at the start of the program, to
Started the program when I was lighter in body weight and lifted less weight. I would even do 10s and 8s as a conditioning, and it kind of helps my technique right away. It kind of solidifies it right away. And then when I got real heavy, a lot stronger, I couldn't really do 10s or 8s anymore because it was so high that it just beat the crap out of me. It was too much. But I could still do them in the bench, the little exercises. I could still do that. But I'll do some 8s and stuff now, but I'm not as strong as I was then. But it really helps more with your technique. When I had a hip replaced a few years ago, I didn't squat for 2 years beforehand and 6 months after. The first time I put a bar on my back, I did exactly the same thing I did every single time. It was like I never left. That's how it was. Is every single set of every single rep that you do should always be the same. That way when you walk up to that bar when you lift, whether it's in the gym for a heavy one or at a meet, that variable is taken out of the way. It's not even, your body knows exactly what to do, it just happens.
Yeah. We all know that you favoured linear progression and you were most successful at it. But, and you were right when you said that everything works
within reason, yeah.
Did you ever deviate and experiment and try anything else at any stage?
Yeah, I tried some of the speed work that Louis Simmons first came out with the 10 sets of triples so much, and then the next week, 8 sets of triples. Then that was some of the first things I came out with, and it got me in really good shape, but it didn't make my numbers go up. So I would sometimes I would do that, and then I would do my thing at the end. Because I needed to handle a weight. I couldn't go from handling 75% all of a sudden to try to handle 100% of me. It was just too much.
So over a 27-year lifting career, you pretty much stayed true to what you were good at, what you knew.
What I made work. Yeah. So I made that routine work for my body and made my body work for that routine based on a numbers I picked all the time. I said, if you constantly pick the right numbers all the time, how can you actually go wrong ever? No matter what routine you're working. You can't. But when you deviate, that's when you screw up.
How do you know what the right number is?
You start learning. Experiment. Like a lot of the routines were based on the same thing, and then based on some people's levers are. Obviously the big guy right here, Mr. Sheridan, right? Our levers are going to be different. So his form may be a little bit different. Or he may need heavier weight because he can't do the reps that I could do at the beginning. So he's going to have little changes that he makes. The basis of it will be the same, but then everyone starts making their own little way with little things.
How many days a week were you training, and what were you training on those days?
4 times a week. Squat on a Monday, bench on a Wednesday with a little bit of assistance work for chest and triceps. I would deadlift on Thursday or Friday, and a light day with some wide grip benches and a little bit of shoulder work on the other day.
Did you say a little bit of shoulder work? What sort of weights did you overhead press? I know you did overhead.
I was actually horrible at standing overhead pressing. I loved seated behind the necks, and I would go up over 400 on that.
So a lot of people, the internet's been around that overhead pressing, especially you did it. Did you do best behind or in front?
Behind.
Behind. A lot of stuff saying about will destroy your shoulders and this and that. You obviously have.
If you have bad shoulders, it's going to hurt right away. Yeah. But or what people do is, it puts a lot more stress on your rotator cuff, but it stretches it out more. If you start light enough and stretch it out the right way, how can you have a problem? It's when guys start a new exercise and they start training. I'll do this exercise and I'll see how heavy I can go. Oh, it feels good. Well, you're going to get hurt because it's new and your body doesn't know what it's doing. It's not set up to do that yet. No, I never had a problem.
Clearly, you're a little bit different in that you've got such long arms that your deadlift was unworldly. So, realistically, you shouldn't have the bench press that you had. People will tell us that guys with long arms are great deadlifters, not very good benches. But you bench 262 and 250 with your feet up, right? Yeah. How much do you think that shoulder, the fact that you're actually a strong presser, not a bench presser, you're actually a strong presser, you can nearly press 200 kilos.
I didn't want a weak point, so I worked it. There's exceptions to every rule, but I like to think I made myself that way. Everybody has something in them to be good at any exercise, but I mean, there's always limits. Of course, a guy with real short arms is going to have his work cut out for him in a deadlift, but might be a great bencher, or vice versa. You never know.
Did you incorporate any Olympic lifting? Question one. And number two, what about explosive work in terms of box jumps and anything?
Never did. I could always jump. I was always extremely explosive, but box jumps and stuff never carried over for me because there was no resistance to it. It didn't. I didn't see it. It didn't feel like it helped. I like explosive training is different than speed work. Explosive training, you need a little bit more resistance, which I thought worked better for powerlifting, and it attached your ligaments and your tendons a little bit more and made them stronger.
Can you name some exercises?
Pardon?
Some exercises?
Just pause squats, or you could do, in the off season I could do high bar closer stand squats because all my strength I was so much stronger in the hips and lower back area that I had smaller quads. So I would work them with like an Olympic style squat.
What about the other question was, did you do any Olympic lifting?
Never did. I did one snatch one time in my life. I did a 135 snatch and my traps were sore for 4 days.
Did you play with your technique much? Did you experiment with your technique during?
Only till I found the right spot.
And then that was it.
Then that was it, and I made it mine all the
How long
time.
did that take you?
It doesn't take very long at all. It doesn't take very long at all. For me, I got lucky because I found it myself. For others, all you have to do, you videotape yourself and then go by feel. And if it feels good and you're hitting depth, don't listen to a soul. If what you're doing, no matter what routine it is, as fucked up as it might be or sound, if you're making progress, do it. Don't listen to anybody. Because that's how everyone learned in the first place.
You said you were training 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So that was 4 times a week when you were at your best? Like,
Yeah, pretty much almost all the time.
I'm going to say most of us aren't at Coan at best. I want to know when you did to get to your best. Like,
When did I get to my best?
You trained 4 times a week when you first started?
Yeah.
Did you get there?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You're training
When you were lighter and not as strong, you were doing more 10s and 8s as well?
Yeah.
When you say a little chest work, like, I don't know,
Bench, close grip, inclines. Light day would be wide grips with my feet up and some flies.
But yeah, it's almost you make it sound like you just did that. But like how, like I mean, when you say go do tricep work, how hard would you go on that? Would you
would
kill
hurt 'em.
yourself? Yeah, you would hurt him. so like, what would the end slaughter tricep routine look like?
I loved heavy push downs. I'd have to have people step on my feet to hold me down to do them. Dips heavy if my shoulders weren't hurting. Then if my elbows were hurting, sometimes I would pick 3 exercises and giant set them and just destroy them.
So basically, you just did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, just hurt them. That's really what it comes down to.
And just quick on time frames. So when you say experiment for a short period, or when you say I tried something a different way for a short period, and like when you talk to your training session 4 days a week, how long are your training sessions? But just
I mean, in length of time, how long did they last?
Yeah, like so when you say
Depending on how heavy I went.
Experiment for a short period, what's your short period of time?
4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah. I could always find out how it felt in that period of time.
When you try a new program, you would give it a minimum?
A new program, like when I tried some of the speed work stuff with Louis Simmons, I tried it for a whole training cycle, but I made sure that I had enough time at the end to get ready for the meet my way if I didn't like how it felt. And it did make me in better shape, but I didn't have enough time, or if I would have done that, I wouldn't have enough time to get used to some weight, because you can't go from like 70 or 75%, all of a sudden putting your opener at 95% or whatever on your back. The nervous system, it'd feel like a ton of bricks. It would kill you mentally.
Yeah, we discussed this. I know your theory on knee reps, and being around for the last few years and watching people, it's always about he did it tighter, he's the tightest, he's the best. I know you're the opposite. I know what you're
It all depends on what your descent is. If your descent is this, you can get them real tight. My descent, I needed my speed. So if you watch some of my videos, I went down a lot faster. If I wrapped them too tight on the way down, it would feel like I was like that. It took my squat away from me. So I wanted to make it still my squat. I just wanted to accentuate it. And so the wraps and stuff was a supplement to that, not the end all. I wasn't looking at the knee wraps to make my squat. My squat was made on my training and my strength. So that would just add some pounds to it, but still had to be my squat.
So tell us, what kind of weights did you squat in the gym? What were your classes? Just loose reps and a belt? What kind of weights?
My best in squat, and I never used a monolith, I walked it out. It was kilos would be 420 for 2 in the squat.
Loose reps and a belt?
Yeah. And that was probably at about 106 to 107 body weight. In the bench, with my feet up on the bench raw, I did a 250.
When it comes to your training and compete, we're a big fan of training the way you compete. So we make the lifters pause nearly every time they bench it in the gym. We always try and step in the squat, and we try and never use the deadlifts. Do you think it's important that you, did you pause your benches when you train?
I paused my close grips, I always paused my inclines. I never had a problem with pausing regular benches. So I would do them touch and go, which built a little bit more speed and explosive power.
Just on the body weight, did your body weight fluctuate through the year, or you tried to keep it pretty consistent?
As I got stronger and I gained weight, I let it go. Wherever I ended up, I ended up. I mean, there was times when I had to diet, like when I was at 82.5, I'd be 10 kilos over and I'd have to diet down. But we only had 2-hour weigh-ins too, so it's not like you can put anything back on. But it's just the way it was, so you had to do it that way.
And how would you have cut the kilos back then?
We didn't know as much about diet, so it was just sitting in the sauna, just being miserable as hell. Really, that's all it really was.
And then how would you replenish it?
You only had 2 hours. So you try to get a little bit of a meal in it and get some good fluids in, and that was it.
Did you often cut that kind of weight, or did you always?
Only at like 82.5. When I got up to in the 90s, I would be like 5-6 kilos over, which was easier. In the hundreds, I barely ever had to cut anything.
A lot of people are like, you can't beat Ed Coan's all-time records because he did it with a single place.
Because it was different.
There was this crap with
It is different. It is different.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean someone can't still set records and do really cool stuff.
So
the only problem I would have is if I did a squat bench deadlift and my deadlift that was 409, if someone did it in a single lift meet and said they beat my record, then it wouldn't be the same. But if they still pull a 901 or 902, I'll be the first one to shake their hand and say, well, that's fucking awesome.
A lot of people who do IPF, they go, oh, GPC crap, because one of those things, knee wraps, Ed Coan walked it out, and all these guys walked it out. Do you think that, obviously, if you had one of those back then, you would have been useful too?
Sure they would.
They're still shit for because they.
Sure they would. Sure they would. But it's different. But you know what? I've never heard guys like use a monolith. I bet I'll never hear you say, I'm better than him and I do this. You know why? Because you just have to do what you do to be better. So what the hell? Just because it's a little bit different doesn't mean one is so bad or anything like that. You know, look at the single ply gear. All right, you got a guy that from Germany. He just benched 400 kilos in the IPF in a single ply shirt. Do you think he does 100 kilos under that raw? I doubt it. So look what he's getting on the shirt. So the IPF can have it both ways. You can't have it both ways.
What did you get out of your shirt?
Well, back then it was like 5 kilos. Pretty horrible. They were pretty horrible.
Because it always seems to be our sport. Like you don't hear the tennis greats saying, "Oh, Sampras won, but look at his record compared to Rod Laver's." It always seems to be a powerlifting thing. You know, cricket player, baseball bats, everything changes. And it's only our sport that seems to say.
I didn't lift for anybody but me. I'm happy with what I did and the way I did it. And history says that, and you have videos and everything else to watch. I don't really care.
Having said you're happy with what you did and how you did it, if you could go back and change anything, would you?
No. No, not really. I learned a lot. You learn how your friends, who your friends are too. But no, I wouldn't really, not too much. No, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm smiling, you guys are here. No, nothing changed.
Ed, what type of comp day lifter were you in terms of psyche? Were you placid and
Quiet.
quiet?
Yeah, I kept all my energy and I just let it out on the weights. I was too damn nervous to let it out. So I was just like everyone else, I just lifted more weight. I get nervous and have doubts and all that crap that everyone else has before me. You just try to focus and get, as long as like, when you start warming up, as long as you have everything timed and everything perfect and all those variables are taken over the way, then no negativeness really creeps in.
Did you have any sort of rituals that you go through before you lifted?
I always rolled up my sleeves and all my collars were like stretched down to here. I had a huge gag reflex before heavy weights where I would just look like I was throwing out. There's some videos on the internet where I like spit up blood and there was, yeah, I had some anxiety attacks there.
Can you, so were you sumo pulling right from the get-go?
No,
So-
I started off doing conventional.
So you started off doing conventional. So when you started doing sumo, because like I found like I pull sumo similar to the way you pull. It doesn't go anywhere unless I do conventional work.
Mhm.
And I believe that was the same for you. So like, how would you work? So you're say you're 10 or 8 or whatever it is weeks out. You're gonna pull 409.
All my off season would be like either I would do a whole cycle, 3 weeks of 8s, 3 weeks of 6, 3 weeks of 4, on stiff leg deadlifts off a block, pause them on the floor. Then I would do conventional work. And then 6 weeks before 6 heavy days before the meet, I would switch over to sumo,
Yeah.
but I would still do a little bit conventional after that. Because the way I did sumo wasn't real wide or anything
It
like
was a
that.
wide
It
stance
wasn't-
conventional.
my legs are like this long, my body. So my sumo was here. So here, boom with your legs, then the rest of it is mostly back and hips.
What was
So
the
I
height?
had to have my back strong.
So would you start on 5s with a sumo? Would you start on 5s?
Yes.
And then triples
Yeah.
and then a couple of doubles? And then
3 weeks of 5s, a week of triples, 2 weeks of doubles.
assistance work change after that compared to the conventional? Like, so when you were doing conventional, what would your assistance work directly after be?
Conventional getting ready for a meet,
Oh no, conventional off season.
almost the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about conventional getting ready for meet compared to conventional getting ready for sumo?
almost the same.
So stiff legs.
I would actually go heavier on some of my assistance work if I was getting ready for a meet doing a conventional deadlift.
Why?
That's just how I had to, because I was getting ready for a meet to max out conventional. I didn't have to worry about that in the gym. So I need more stuff that was strong. I'd go heavier on bent rows and shrugs and stuff like that.
What's the difference between your best conventional and best sumo? And do you think everyone should train both movements?
I tore an adductor really bad doing sumo, and I had pulled 900 for 2 in the gym real easy. And my best conventional in the gym, the heaviest I went up to was 405. So, but well, one was at 100 kilos, one was at 106 or 107. I think if I didn't get hurt sumo, I would have pulled around 950. And as much, and I might have been able to do it at 100 kilos, but it didn't happen. So
So it's about 20 kilos, 25 kilos difference
yeah.
between both movements.
Yeah. And my I have long arms, but if you look at one of my conventional pull on the on YouTube or something I'm not perfect like this. I still got to bend over and just use my back the same as everyone else. It wasn't perfect, but you make it. You make it. You own your style and you're working. And what will make my list get better? Pick the right assistance exercise. Find out what you're weak at and what will make that lift go up. Experiment.
Yeah, just quickly with the numbers you've been using in your training. just quickly picking up in my head, are you telling us that at about 100 kilos body weight, with loose straps, no you never wore a deadlift suit, and with your feet up with a bench, you could total 1,080 at about 105 kilos?
Back then, yeah, when I was at my healthiest.
You know, that's the biggest
But sometimes it doesn't always show up in the meat, but my thing was I just wanted to be strong as shit.
How does that make you feel? I know you're a very modest man, but when you see all-time world records broken with numbers that are 100 kilos beneath your...
I wish I was back then and now.
Realistically, the numbers that you put up there, when you're as close to raw, I mean, the wraps they use today probably got more than your squat suit in. So the numbers that you would have been capable of putting up would be there forever.
Maybe. There's always someone that's going to come along that's strong. You're never the only one.
But we're talking like nearly 1,100 kilos at 100 kilos.
So? It's just what you do, you know. There's a lot of things I can't do that you might be able to do. Well, not you, but maybe you know, everyone, you can only do what you can do.
Yeah, I know, but you're hanging around, and the me, social media, you're aware of everything that's going on in Valhalla today.
Yeah, I watch a lot.
Everybody.
I'm a fan.
So, I know, but you're sitting there looking at these. Do you ever think?
Not really. Not really like that. I never want to discredit anybody or do anything like that. Yeah, but well, I lifted what I lifted. That's it. That's it. You know, they didn't keep a lot of raw records and stuff like that. I mean, when I totaled over 2,400 at 100 kilos, and it was, you know, 2-hour weigh-ins, my bench and deadlift were raw in that meet. It was a 247.5 bench, and that was the 409 deadlift. That was raw, but it didn't keep raw records.
You had it.
So it doesn't.
Squat suit on, didn't you?
Yeah, one of the old time. Yeah, I was like 4 years old. But they didn't keep raw records, but it doesn't matter. I know what I did. I didn't do it for that. I did it for me. I'm happy with the way I did it.
So you never have a smirk on your face when you read somebody's results?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Would you ever step back on the platform?
Maybe. You know what? I don't want to get dragged back into it because I know the type of guy I am, and it's like all or nothing.
Are you doing anything tomorrow? There's a bit of a meet going.
I can still squat pretty well.
What is squatting at the moment?
A few weeks ago, I played around because I got mad and I went up to a 327.5, which is the belt. Now, if I could get,
You don't know what's squatting.
I know I can, but if I got my squat and deadlift back up to like 800 pounds, like raw, with walking out with no knee reps or anything, then I would just do it for fun.
So that's like 360.
800 is 365.
I would be 100. I weigh about 105 right now at the most. No way.
You sure would all pay $100 to see?
No.
Yeah, I'm down for 100.
3,000.
100 each?
Ed, tell us a little bit about Ed Coan, not the powerlifter. Stuff we were talking about. What do you love? No, but what do you've got other passions, I know you have.
Well, for so long it was just powerlifting because I was so engrossed in it. That's why I'm afraid to get back into it a little bit. It takes up a lot of time. You got to have it all.
So what do you do with your time now? You got lots of spare time. You don't want to lift anymore.
I fight now.
I know.
Yeah.
Soon you beat up Spur or something.
That's not hard.
That's not really beating them up. That's doing the world a service. But no, I do. But the reason I started doing some fight stuff was just to get some movement back because I'll be 51 next month, and I wanted to move again and get back in shape to be a little more of an athlete instead of so one-dimensional. Because after so many years with the injuries and being beat up, I was so stiff and sore and I couldn't really move anymore. That I wanted to just do something different, and it's actually helped me more.
So when you were a kid before powerlifting, what did you do? Just
All the regular sports that America does: baseball, football, basketball.
How did you play
Basketball.
3-point shooter. I could pound basketball.
quite a good baseballer back in the day.
Yeah, I love baseball. Third base.
Do you always hit third base?
The hot spot.
Who's the best lifter you've ever seen?
Back in the old days, I lifted with Anaba a little bit. You know, he's won like 30 IPF championships, Open and Master, and then a little bit, a few meets with Oleg from Poland. He's the best there is right now. No one's so close, and he's been there for so long. But there's a lot of great lifters. There's a lot of lifters who have done great lifts, but then there's a lot of people throw the tag on this guy's great. He's one of the greatest lifters ever. He's only done stuff for a few years. Try to last 20 like some of the guys that are still at it now. That's harder to do. But yeah, there's some really, really good lifters out there.
So you were never out total. Who pushed you the hardest?
Me?
Yeah. No, who else? Who pushed you? Anybody? Did you ever think anybody should be?
Well, at some meets, I didn't even want the super heavies to beat me. So that was a goal, just to try to be as strong as I didn't want anyone to beat me. I didn't care about the weight class.
Without sounding arrogant, when you walked into a room, a warm-up room, you knew that everybody was there for second place, right? You knew that they knew that because that was just the way you carry yourself. Everyone thought Ed's here, so who's going to get second, right? So did you play on that?
I never played on places, and I just worried about my own lifts.
But you were aware that was...
I didn't care about it. But if I saw someone like at a meet squat like 340, even though I was doing 440, if they did it easy, it pissed me off. I didn't get it at all.
Have you ever met one?
If you could share the platform with anybody, who would it be? If you could share the platform in a meet without focusing on using it.
I would probably choose some of the old time guys.
Like who?
But Milanichev I like. I like Koklev because he's a fun guy and he's strong as hell. He's probably the best strongman there is as far as if you took everything. But I don't know, I lifted with a lot of great guys for a long time. I was on the platform with Kaz, my first nationals when I was a teenager. Larry Pacifico, Fred Hatfield, Lamar Gant. So, you know,
Captain Kirk, Doug Furness?
Yeah.
Is Kirk really as crazy as he comes across?
Way worse. When we went away, I would be the boy. I would be the only one he would listen to. So yeah, he's pretty bad.
So when you went to a meet, how would you, did you have in mind some percentages, like if you're going to open on 95%?
When we went to, well, Nationals was different than Worlds. When you're on your own turf and you fly 2 hours, it's pretty easy to hit what you want to hit. When you go overseas and you're there for a week beforehand, and the food and the sleep and everything is different, and the judges are pricks, you concentrate on winning. That's all you concentrate on. Get your opener in, and then go from there to make sure you win. And you're playing you're with a team too, so you want team points. You want to make sure you get the best you can.
You said the judges were pricks, so I know we've spoken about this, but you pretty much tried to take the judging out of your lifting. You
just
squat high.
Squat low, lock out your benches, pull your deadlifts all the way up. But you know what? That's just the rules.
Yeah.
If you circumvent the rules in training, everyone thinks if I squat high and try, I'll get it down on the knee. Never happens. And that's when you get guys bitching most because all their buddies tell them how great they are and how low they squatted, and then they screw up in the meet.
When you talk about bitching and moaning, there seems to be a lot of it in the equipped ranks in the US at the moment. Have you witnessed that? Some of the guys are like, I know it's recorded, but they can't see me. Huff and Louie and all that.
They just do their thing in their federation.
Yeah.
If they lift the way they want to lift, if they don't give a crap what people think, then all the power to them. I wish I didn't give a crap what people thought, but I still do a little bit. Of course, you want your lifts to be admired and everything else, so you just go according to the rules that you're given. When I blew my knee out, Louis Simmons was the first guy to call me before any sponsors or any friends and send me a sled and all kinds of other stuff for free and said, if you need anything else, let me know.
You said the feds have their own rules. I've never seen a rule book that doesn't say you've got to squat below parallel.
There's rules and perceived rules and interpretations.
And does that bother you?
Well, a squat is a squat. You should go down below parallel. Some of the stuff you watch on the internet is just freaking stupid. And now that I'm on Facebook, you see people putting up their lifts on Facebook with side views in the squat, and everyone, you'd see 20 comments that say, wow, that was great, man, you're getting so strong. And it was like this high. It's like, this guy doesn't know. He'll never know if he goes in the meet, he's gonna bomb.
Especially doing that.
So stuff like that is just stupid, but 95% of people are idiots anyways.
If you could give some advice to new and upcoming lifters, you know, that are just starting out 1 or 2 years into competition, what would it be?
Technique and don't overtrain. You really have to work your technique to make it yours.
So not worry so much about totals and big lifts, just consistency.
How many people miss a lift because they're not strong enough? Very few. You won't be unhappy then. But how many people, when their form breaks down, we screw up? 100% of them. Unless it's a real lightweight. But with a real lightweight, what your weakness is technique-wise or on your body, won't show up till heavyweight anyways. So that's the only time you're going to find out.
So,
but mostly technique and don't overtrain. Lay down that foundation. Sometimes it can take at least 3 years to lay down a pretty good foundation.
Yeah, because some people, like some people take to another extreme where all they worry about is technique and no heavy lifting.
Well, then they're not powerlifters. that would be more CrossFit.
They care about technique.
But you know, the ladies usually are better at technique and they're tougher lifters. But their levers are the same. Like you can have a woman squat 100 kilos for 10 reps, and you put on 5 kilos more, and they get 1, and that's it. That's good because the tendons and ligaments and tie-ins are a little bit different as far as strength and tension on them.
Yeah, during your peak, did you get injured?
Oh yeah.
And how long were you out of? Let's say hypothetically you broke an arm or something.
Hypothetically, you did it twice.
Three
times.
Were you out of the sport for, what was the longest period you were out of the sport?
0 seconds, I was always in.
Okay, what's the
most time off and stuff like that?
Yeah, what's the
till it was good enough to compete. Yeah. I wouldn't test it.
But what was the longest you were able to compete?
When I blew my knee out, I didn't put a weight on my back for 6 months. And then within 6 months after that, I competed, so it was a year. I had to wait for it to feel good enough for me. Because just because it's good enough to lift doesn't mean it's good enough to compete or lift the heaviest weight, because you have to be confident again. And if you're not confident, all of a sudden one side shifts or it's a whole nother problem.
Training partners, you ever mentioned training partners? Did you have many?
Regular guys, just regular guys who, the most some of my guys were squatting was 295 back then. But they knew me, and they were honest as hell with me. Whenever we'd lift, I would be the one that watched them. They never let me spot because I was shit at spotting. So they'd say, you're not allowed to spot. Watch us, that's your job. In return though, they took care of me. They watched me. They knew if I was off, and they would let me know.
So, no superstar training partners?
No. Well, actually, they were superstar training partners because they knew me and they told me the truth.
But no household name?
Nothing, no one that lifted like extraordinary amounts of weight.
So you would say if one of your training partners, you're squatting high in the gym,
he's gonna let you know.
your deadlifts and they're not telling you that's a bad training partner.
Yeah. The truth. You gotta do it in the meet. So when you go to a meet and you screw up, whose fault is that? 2 people. Your training partner because he didn't have balls to tell you, and you because you didn't know where your proper depth was. Because you pretty much know if you hit it all the time where it is.
What was your favorite comp? What was your favorite body weight? Like, what were your favorite?
100 kilos, I was the strongest and most healthy. I had the least amount of injuries, I should say.
What was your favorite comp? Like, do you have a favorite comp? Like a favorite,
Where I told 2402 or whatever. Yeah. I could have gone a little heavier, but like in the squat, I missed. I think I did 959. I missed the 986 because they had that real small. You ever see the piece together rubber stuff?
Yeah.
And it was real thick. So when I set up in the squat, I went to move my foot out, and it was so sunken in that I couldn't move it out anymore. So when I squatted just right where I was, and it was too close, and I tipped forward right at the top.
Was it you who had knee wraps made out of like underwear material, like the elastic?
I still got an old pair of double gold line knee wraps that I cut in half that I use as wrist wraps. That's what we had though, that was the best. So how can I bitch about someone using the best that's available now for them?
Yeah.
Still freaking powerlifting, you know? It's just what we had.
If what did you eat during comp day? What did you eat during the day of a comp?
A little bit of fruit, and that was about it. I was too nervous to eat.
In your diet before and just normal?
I was Superman when I was competing. I would get enough nutrients, and then as long as my body was fine, I'd have a hot fudge sundae, donut, that didn't matter. Now I have to watch it a little bit more. Now it's more, I keep my proteins pretty high and higher good fats and a little bit less carbs. Except when I'm here on vacation. And I'm eating with the fat guy over there. Yeah, nobody has to look, they know who it is. Keep them coming.
What's your take on this, like the whole mobility thing like this?
Mobility stuff.
Mobility, yeah, like when Kelly started and everyone like mobilizing and stretching and balls and bands and
Foam rolling.
Like, what's your take on all that? Like,
A little bit of stretching beforehand and afterwards, and it's good enough. A lot of the stuff made up now is, what's the reason they're doing it? Money to sell. So they're trying to reinvent the wheel on stuff and make up new crap. Most of it is a bunch of crap.
Would you ever get massage?
Yeah.
No, don't talk about it. No,
How often?
Twice a week. We had a old Ukrainian really fat guy at the gym named Boris. Boris experimented on me. And sometimes I'd get like a 2.5 hour massage. I wouldn't be able to walk out of there. So he experimented on me and found new techniques to work on me.
Where's this going?
But yeah, it did help because you start getting a lot of adhesions and a lot of built up scar tissue and stuff like that it does help.
Ed, who do you consider the strongest person ever? Strongest human being
in
ever?
Powerlifting or
No,
in
all
general?
over. In both. Like Paul Anderson, Kaz.
Well, see, Paul Anderson was unbelievably strong and he did a lot of stuff for kids. But like when Kaz did one of his demonstrations where he pulled a 903 deadlift, that was a 903. He had some aluminum weights on there that he got from Paul Anderson's garage. So some stuff wasn't, on the up and up. But there's a lot of old timers that did unbelievable things. And then there's some new guys that are doing some unbelievable things. But all around, it would be someone who can do them all. And I would say someone like Koklev. I mean, deadlifts over 900, squats an astronomical amount of weight, can still clean and jerk 245 if he wants, and can do strongman and still move. Someone like him would be like, yeah, unbelievable.
Was John Cole similar back in the day?
Yeah, well, he did track and field, so he came from a track and field background. But when he did powerlifting, that's all he did was powerlifting.
So who would you, in powerlifting terms, like right now, who would you consider the strongest, and who do you think over, say, the next 5 years is going to come out on top?
In the next 5 years, Derek Kendall will be, if he can stay healthy enough. But he's a little much of a knucklehead, you can put that on there because I talk to him all the time. Whereas if he sees someone on the internet doing something, like what was your strongman man? Warwick Brand? Yeah, him today. He saw him do 355 on the internet with knee wraps. He said, I have to break that. So he did 800 pounds with no knee wraps on a front squat. But if he sees someone does a press on the internet, he has to try to beat it, or someone do something else. That's just going to get him hurt. So like I said, just because you feel strong doesn't mean you should test it all the time. It might take you out of that goal, but he could be one of the strongest. He's got to get his deadlift up, but I mean, I saw him do a 1037 squat, which is a belt and knee wraps in training.
So who would you say is strongest right now?
Milanichev. Oh yeah,
What do you think of Dan Green?
strong as hell.
Yeah.
He's crazy. and you see the way he's built, unbelievable. And one of the nicest guys there is. You never hear him talk crap about anybody. He just goes about and does his business. So he's a real nice guy.
Longevity is a big issue with you, and I know that to be a champion, you've got to be a champion for a certain period of time. Do you see?
That's if you choose.
Yeah, but do you see, without stating the leading obvious, the way the lifting is at the moment, and we're aware of what's going on, can you see many of these guys being able to have 25-year careers?
No. No. They're not out for it. It's not. Some of it is not set up for that anymore. Because before it was nationals, worlds. How many world titles can you get? Stuff like that. Now it's let's see what crazy we can go to try to set records, and that's it. That's all they're geared about.
Rather than winning competitions.
Yeah.
So how many nationals and how many worlds did you win?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Right, man?
Never counted them out.
But it's stuff.
I never counted
But it
them.
is stuff you can look it up. Obviously.
Yeah, you can look it up. A lot.
It's stuff, you know.
A lot.
So, because you don't tend to be very specific with the numbers that you lifted in meets, because to you
I remember them all.
I know, but you had to you, what was important was that you won nationals, that you won worlds, and then you backed it up and backed it up and backed it up.
Yeah, but at
Before we
nationals you
actually
knew, because it was in the States, that you had an easier chance to set records. To go to IPF Worlds was hard to set records. I did a few times, but there's a lot of times I didn't. Like I said, it's based on that day.
So you would walk into, back to the percentage thing, because we spoke about this, and you said that you would walk into the meet, you had a rough idea where your training would do. You would take an opener that you need to get, and from there you placed your second and third teams.
Yep.
So it took you a while to obviously be able to acquire that, confidence that you knew, okay, well that was so easy, I can definitely do 215 kilo jumps. How long did it take you to be able to develop that skill? That's a skill to go in there with no predetermined numbers. I mean, that's just being so in touch with your training.
A couple of years before you realize that you want to try to go 9 for 9 and not just see how high you can go right away. Or the fact that you want to win. Sometimes, you're not fortunate enough where guys are hundreds of pounds behind you. If it's a closer race, you're going to make everything in the whole meet to be able to win. 8 for 9 or 9 for 9 wins.
Yeah, it's historically that shows us the guys that make the most lifts win competitions.
Yeah.
It seems to be lost on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, you said nationals, worlds. Is that the only competitions you would do each year?
Pretty much. I used to do, I went to Hawaii World Record Breakers a couple times because there was enough time in between.
But do you reckon you can handle doing more than that amount of competitions per year?
Not really. Not the way I trained. Not for the progress I wanted to make. So I had enough time in between the Worlds and the Nationals to do a lot of work and a lot of base work and get strong. So I had the time. If I cut that up and did another meet or two, I wouldn't have enough much time to make those gains.
So there was
I like getting strong in the gym.
There were no state
love it.
championships? How did you have to qualify for nationals?
Yeah,
How did you qualify for nationals?
by winning the previous year.
Right, so-
No, if you hadn't been in the last Nationals or the Worlds, then you had to have a qualifying total.
Right, okay.
So if you were doing 2 competitions a year, let's assume for easy maths that there were 6 months, would you have like that full 6 months? Was that a whole training cycle?
Actually, the Nationals would be in July and the Worlds would be in November. So then I had all the way till the next July to get ready. So I could do a
would
lot
that
of
be
off-season
one
work.
long training cycle, or would you have like a couple shorter ones?
It would be a short one at the beginning to work on some weaknesses like high bar close stance, squats, benches with my feet up for a long period of time, or stiff leg deadlifts on a block for a while.
How many weeks is that short one? How many weeks would that initial short one be?
9 to 10.
What about the worlds?
14. Sometimes 14 weeks. So I wanted bigger jumps were to peak out. Smaller jumps over a longer period of time were to get strong.
Who influenced you the most in training? Because you've got your ideals are pretty unique. I mean,
Yeah, first the magazines, And then a friend of mine, Doug Furnace, who passed away a couple years ago. He taught me a lot about programming.
And you program for yourself?
Yeah, I'd write it all down. Like I'd have like hundreds of pieces of paper everywhere.
Yeah, never had a coach, but
At a meet, I would have him and Marty Gallagher would run my numbers and set up the time schedule.
So more like a handler on the meat.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the gym.
But if someone like Doug Furnace told me there was that certain voice, everyone has that one person that they trust. If he said, okay, this is what you're gonna take, all right, I know I can get it. Confidence. Yeah. But they have to know.
Most people here don't even know who Doug Furnace is.
Yeah.
Would that be right?
I don't.
First rider total 2,400?
Second after Kaz. And that was with the old style bench press shirts.
He was much lighter than Kaz.
Yeah, I mean, with the old style, squat suits and bench shirts. And back then we didn't have squat bars either. Walked out, he did a 985 squat, like playing around. It was like a 5'9", 275, legs this big, could do a full splits and touch his head to the ground.
Did pro wrestling. And
Yeah, rode rodeo, played football. So he was a real athlete, but he taught me a lot about programming, but he was real good.
Talking of programming, we've spoken about the Coan Filippi.
It's not mine. Mark Filippi made it up and I gave it to a guy named Josh Bryan who's a trainer, and he liked it a lot, and then he attached my name to it, and I can't get it off him. Mark Filippi had to do a lot more volume than I had to.
So what do you think of the program itself?
It's hard. But again, if you pick your numbers, you make everything. If you overshoot, by the time you're 3/4 of the way through, you're burnt out and beat up, and it won't work.
And what was the greatest performance you ever witnessed at a meet, other than yourself?
I've seen great lifts like Lamar Gant pull a 310 at 60 kilos. I've seen Oleg squat almost 800 at 165 pounds class, at 75 kilo class.
Taking everything into account, like the 3 lifts and winning as well.
You see, when I was competing, I didn't really watch. I was too nervous. You know, all the feelings everyone is feeling right now about lifting tomorrow, when they start warming up and they start having little doubts and butterflies, I had the same shit. I just lifted more weight. It's really the only difference. It's the only difference.
When you were lifting, they just seemed to know the camaraderie between everyone here. Was it like that back then when you say you had everyone?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I've always thought that powerlifting was way better than any other sport as far as camaraderie. You know, the only problem people have are usually with, and that's a lot of IPF stuff, with officials.
It's been you in the status as a powerlifter, has it opened doors in the other world?
Yeah, I've met a lot of real cool people because of it.
So can you name me 5 famous people that you hang out with you like?
I don't really give a crap about famous people. I met some of my clients and stuff that got me into real estate, so I don't have to work that hard anymore. That's the best one right there. But I used to go to all the Blackhawks games, and I know the owners of the Blackhawks and stuff like that because I used to train some of them. But
You met your partner through lifting? You met your partner through lifting?
yeah, my girlfriend went through lifting. She used to live for Norway. I met her at the World Championships in Birmingham, England in 1992. I was just sitting there watching. I sat next to her, and I was so shy I couldn't even talk to girls. But I was with a guy named Jamie Reeves, who anyone knows, he was a world yeah, and the biggest comedian there is, a joker in all of England. So he started telling dirty jokes to her, and she knew all the punchlines. So I asked her out to dinner, and she was under the impression that we're all going out to dinner with the whole team. It was just me. I probably said like 2 words the whole night. She just talked. Thank God.
And you've been together since, what, 96 or something?
Well, we met in 92. She long distance relationship for a few years, and then she moved over to the States.
She was a good lifter?
She was okay. She was on the world team at 18 years old.
We're doing the maths here. So we're doing the maths. You're a little bit older.
I'll be 51 next month at the end of July.
And
She's a year behind me.
Oh,
Did you ever have a kid? How strong were
I still have a kid. No, I didn't. I started really late in life.
Do you reckon you could have achieved what you have in the sport if you had a family?
You'd like to think so, but being who I am, I couldn't. There's no way. I mean, I see some of the people doing some crazy. I mean, a couple of the women lifters are single mothers, and they still lift and do really well. Holy crap! Guys can't do that. It's really hard. So there's people have priorities. It all depends, and you know how you get your time. That's why a lot of people are starting later in life because their kids are raised or they're in school now and they have the time to be able to do it. All the power to them.
If you lifted prior to this when there was just one fair, so when you won, you know you beat everyone. In '86, I think Ernie France started the new fest and split.
85.
85, yeah. At the time, what was the feeling amongst the top powerlifters that there was going to be?
Actually, the APF started because of drug testing. That's the 100% truth. And then everyone says they're judging afterwards, but it was a little drug testing.
Same thing happened here.
Yeah, that's all it was.
1990, man. It didn't happen until 1990.
Yeah.
So what was the feeling there? Because up until then,
It was time for another federation, but the APF was supposed to follow IPF type rules just with no drug testing. But then it started, you let the inmates run the asylum sometime, the prison yard, and what's going to happen? They're going to be in charge. And that's what happened.
Along that lines,
And Ernie just turned 80 years old.
along that line, are there things that have come from that split that you don't like, or are there things that you would change?
Just some stupid equipment and judging rules that they allow. That's it. But I get along with all that. I help some multiply lifters.
And obviously
It's still powerlifting, just different.
And obviously the worlds are very watered down now. I mean, when we competed,
Yeah.
the best guys were there. And
Sure.
now there's 30 worlds.
Yeah.
And everybody's a world champion. So that's obviously had a
Does-
massive effect.
The toughest worlds right now will always be the IPF, no matter what. But that doesn't mean all these other lifters shouldn't lift somewhere and have fun and be strong as hell. No problem with that. But there are too many federations.
What's your take on Chris Christensen from IPF?
He's a real nice kid.
IPF juniors out totaling guys winning the supercar. How does that work?
He's strong. Sometimes it's just, a guy is really smart. Why can't someone just be really strong? I'll tell you what, Norway tests their people around the clock without notice, any way they want. All these guys are clean from Norway. Carl is, and he's a real nice kid. But as he says, he lifts with equipment. Because I don't, what can he lift raw? I don't lift raw. Sometimes it's just a dude strong.
So with back to the IPF, because obviously you have some inside knowledge, and I know we discussed it. And
I used to. I don't know how much I do now.
You're pretty sure the Aussies and the Americans are clean. You know the Norwegians.
Oh God, yeah.
You know the Norwegians.
Yeah. The Americans can get tested anytime too.
Yeah, it happens here as well.
Yeah.
But what about some of the other countries here?
Probably not. A lot of them don't have the money to test off season or have the federation test these guys whenever they want. But again, sometimes some people are just freaking strong.
Speaking of federations and that, do you ever think we'll see powerlifting in the Olympics?
No.
No. Why is there not more sort of pushing for that? Like it's a
Because there's Olympic weightlifting. There's already a weightlifting in there. Weightlifting had enough time. Look, they tried to kick out wrestling.
Yeah.
So you think they're going to let another weightlifting in there that has equipment and some other stuff in there, and the fear of guys with big muscles that might get caught on a drug test? Not going to happen.
What was your average day like? as you were training? Sorry to steer it back to this topic.
I would.
Steering back on topic.
Almost the same as this.
Yeah, so like,
I
so
train people in
it's
the morning.
Monday.
I train some people in the morning, train myself, go home and eat, take a nap, eat again, come back at night, train some more people.
So you're the original personal trainer.
Kind of.
So 9 to 5 jobs, when did they stop for you?
When I'm done.
No, at what age? So were you working 9 to 5 until you?
No, not all the time. No.
Did you ever?
Yeah. I was an electrician. I freaking hated work. Hated it. I hated that. I hated the monotony, and sometimes you just be too beat up to train. But I didn't like it, so I mean, I made my own way.
So
but I was fortunate. I was lucky.
So when you were doing your like really big meets, you were essentially a full-time athlete, and you just did some PT for cash.
Yeah.
On the side, so you,
Yeah. I was a starving athlete at times. Same as a lot of other people.
Do you remember the first time somebody offered you money to train? What year it would have been?
And had you achieved anything?
Late
prior?
80s.
Late 80s.
I was embarrassed. I was afraid to ask him for what I thought, Yeah. So I would just take a little bit.
Yeah, but what credentials, like, what had you totaled at the time? Did people know who you were?
Yeah, in the gym I was at, everyone knew. It was a big gym, and a lot of people, watching stuff. And, everyone says, you have these gyms that don't allow chalk and don't allow yelling and screaming. When I lifted at some of these bigger gyms, there was older people there all the time that would come up to you afterwards. How much was that? That was so cool. I was so scared for you. Yeah, people don't have a problem. It's just, if idiots are cursing and being jerks, it's going to happen anyway. Hey, none of that. Keep it coming. Anything on training and anything else. Just
What do you think of Australia?
It's gorgeous.
You were out here in 88.
I mean, I'm from Chicago, but people are so nice here compared to home.
You were out here in 88.
Yeah, in Perth.
Yeah. That was a fun time. Did Kaz live there?
No, that was O.D. Wilson was on our team then. And it was myself, O.D. Wilson, Gene Bell, who everyone knows, and our little 60-kilo lifter was J.D. Carr. And we stopped a police officer out in front of the hotel, Observation City. I guess it's really a nice place. And we said, take us to the new beach. So O.D. Wilson got in the front seat, put the hat on, which was about this big on his head, and turned the siren on. We went to Swanbourne Beach. It's a naked beach. We went to the beach right away. O.D. Wilson took all his clothes off. This is 6'4", 440 pounds. He just ran into the water like this. You saw every white person just go. Parting of the sea in the Bible. Pretty funny.
Did you know Jim Williams?
No. I talked to his son before, but that's about it.
Oliver Henderson?
Yeah.
And he was clean? 700-pound bencher?
Yep. I saw him warm up for a meet before. I saw him take 405 pounds, 600, then open up at 650. That was it. With nothing but a gold watch on it. That's it.
Possibly the only man to have benched 700 clean?
Yeah. Raw, yeah. He was large. He was like 177 kilos that day. And it was at 322 and a half.
All right, we've got another 15 minutes
Keep
or so.
coming.
If you've got any more questions, now's your time.
Don't be scared to ask anything.
What do you think makes a good powerlifting coach?
What do I think makes a good one?
Coach.
Well, first of all, honesty, and he has to know how to perform the lifts. He has to know what he's doing.
Yeah. Do you think you necessarily have to have a big
No.
numbers or just
No, not at all. Sometimes the greatest coaches just have a knack for coaching in a different eye than the athlete does. Look at all the pro sports teams. Some of the guys that are the greatest coaches never really were that great. They may have done that sport, but they weren't necessarily greatest. I don't think it matters.
a lot of powerlifters like, drinking milk, Kaz like eating rice pudding. Was there anything you ate that you just thought made you super strong?
Not on video. No, not really. Not really. I just ate and, like, when I was young and strong and healthiest, there's nothing I couldn't do. Like I said, I made sure I got enough of nutrients, and then whatever else I wanted to eat, I ate. As long as I didn't have to worry about my
What
weight.
about stuff like protein powder or protein?
Most of the stuff, there are insurance policies, there's a supplement, like a knee wrap is, like a wrist wrap is. They're a supplement to your workout to help you get to a certain point. They're not the end all be all, just an little insurance policy.
Obviously, you've been supplied by a lot of sponsors and Joe Weider and those sorts of guys. They just send you that stuff.
Yeah.
Joe Weider was a good guy.
He was a great guy, and actually Joe, when I go out to lunch with Joe, he liked strongman and powerlifting more than bodybuilding. He would only talk about the Muscle Beach days and stuff like that. He was a great man. When I came to Perth, he said, I called him up, and he actually answered the phone in his office, and he said, what can I do for you? What do you need? I said, well, can you sponsor me for this meet? He said, sure, just send me an invoice. I sent him an invoice. He sent me more than triple. He sent me $7,500 US. No questions asked, didn't even have to do anything for it. Nice guy. Yeah. I'd go in his office, he'd have a desk about 15 to 20 feet long filled with nothing but checks to help people. He would tell all these bodybuilders, especially all the ones that bitched about him in the old days because they were jealous that he was making all the money, he was a good businessman, that, okay, just write an article or just do an appearance for me. And he would help them with their rent and their food and everything else. So yeah, I thought he was a real nice guy.
Powerlifting is a very hard sport and it's very hard to actually get paid for.
Yeah.
Do you think that you can make anything of a career? Like you are the best powerlifter of all time with a very long career.
I didn't really care about it back then. I have a hard time talking about myself to make money like that. But yeah, people can do it. You can do
Do you think
it.
it's
Especially nowadays, it's a lot easier because it's getting more and more popular with strength training. I train a bunch of CrossFitters in the gym that own CrossFit gyms in Chicago. I train the owners. So what does that tell you? So we are worth something.
You are. Wait.
Maybe not to you.
What do you think about online programming and coaching?
Most of the online programming and coaching is fine. A lot of the online programming, they say, do this and get back to me and let me know how it feels. So all they are is using you as a guinea pig most of the time. What I usually do is I don't charge 90% of the people. I said, let me see what you do. Send me your program and let me see what I like and what you like, and we'll correct it to make it yours. Because there's if you're doing a certain program, why do I want to all of a sudden just get you on mine? What, to make you buy my ebooks? But there's certain stuff in your program already that you obviously like. So I can't get rid of that stuff. But there might be stuff that I don't like that we work with. And we change a couple little things and all of a sudden your life's going.
So how would you structure a beginner's training? Someone who's never lived
More of a power bodybuilding thing. So he has work on your weaknesses and get all your strengths up and work on your technique.
Each lift once a week? Each lift once a week, even with a complete beginner?
You can do some light stuff another day, like you can bench another day, but for the most part, if you're working out pretty hard, only once a week. I've never been into, it never worked for me training too hard. You can have a light day in there to work on technique and stuff, or a little bit of light speed, but you can't, when you say twice a week, a lot of people assume that that's hard twice a week. I think sooner or later you're going to break down.
When you were knee weights, was there any, in hindsight, looking back, were there any signals that something was wrong?
I set up too fast. I used to set up like this, boom, and then move that. When I set up that time, I went. So when I came in, the knee came in, and I felt it, and I couldn't stop. It was like standing in front of the train like this. I knew it was going to go, and it felt like my whole leg just snapped in half. But luckily, I knew how to dump the bar from the old timers I used to train with. Ernie France, there was a guy, Bill Sino, Dennis Reed, they were world record holders and stuff. And I dumped it and dove. I would have been crushed because I had on the way down.
What weight was that on that boat?
440 was the second
When
attempt.
you came back a year later and started, what did you end up squatting after that?
The heaviest I went up to was like 422 and a half, real easy, just to see if I could do it again. No. When it was good, it was good. I mean, I had gone up a year later to 800 pounds with no knee reps even, just to test it. In my brain.
You never thought twice?
No. It didn't feel, my cousin did my surgery. So he said, this is what I did, it's never gonna blow again.
The one that was in there? The one in the mayor of Chicago?
No, the mayor of Chicago wasn't my surgeon. It was the mayor.
Did you always wrap your own knees in competition?
Yep. Like I said, if I wrapped too tight, it didn't feel right. But I knew how to wrap. So it wasn't hard. I want it wrapped this way. And that's the way I did it.
With the wraps, did you try different ways in wrapping to find the best way for you? Or
Yeah, most of it's all the same.
Yeah.
But back in those days, the limit knee wrap wasn't as long as they are now either.
You were 2 meters back then?
Yeah.
Deadlifting, here we go. Scott's always saying you get so much out of the deadlift bar. Most of your deadlifts was on a leak of
Yeah, they were done with just a regular bar.
Yeah, did you ever do any deadlifts of Texas or Okie bar?
I tried them. I never used them long enough to really like them. Because I was really explosive with them. So I don't know what I would have done. I would have liked to see what I would have done sumo with one.
There's a few out the back if
How much?
Like my adductors, I can go right down into sumo exactly how I did before. But there's certain things that need to stretch out for me to do it again. But the only way to get that is by doing it a lot of reps to get it back.
We've got time.
So
I
if you
start
were
now.
to share a lot of reps or a lot of cash. So if you were to
I know a guy with a lot of cash.
you'd be able to make it by September if you had to, wouldn't you? If somebody said to you today.
Let's try.
That's the question.
Are you guys looking at each other?
Yeah. We're
No.
joined at the brain.
No. I'm not gonna put the pressure on myself.
No.
I'm just gonna try to get stronger, and if it comes out at a certain time, I'll call you.
Preferably November-ish.
No.
Every year, that'd be nice.
I don't want to put the crazy.
The dollar is good at the moment.
Dollar is always good.
Yeah, not when it drops.
If there's enough of them, it's always good.
Of the 3 lifts, what was your favorite?
Whichever one didn't hurt. For real, I was pretty good at all of them. So whichever one didn't hurt, I like them.
Yeah.
We were able to progress even when we had Adam go to a seminar. He said he found it very hard to have increases on all 3 lifts at the same time. There would be one would go up, then one would catch up, and another would go. It seems to me like we were able to sort of keep progress even the whole time.
Mm-hmm. That just has to do with picking the right numbers, having the right routine at all times.
Because I know he nearly qualified the eye.
He was a strong dude.
Well, so things you don't know about him, Barry Murray that you met here, Barry had to kick him out of his house because Barry would get up and go to work in the morning, he'd be up watching Pete Coan videos. Yeah, it's got all your videos, right? And Barry would get home from work, and
That's why he was so strong.
and all he'd eat for the day is 1 meat pie. That's it, and he just watched your videos, and Barry had to do that. So he pretty much ate what you did. I mean, I trained with him for years, and I know that he trained in your program, but he never could maintain even progress.
He was him, I was me. 2 different people. So there may have been something he could have altered that would have helped him.
Regarding nutrition, what's your take on meal frequency, eating shit, eating good, and all that?
What my nutrition is like now, or back
Did you eat by the clock or when you were hungry?
I try to eat by the clock. If I ate when I was hungry, I didn't care about eating. I wouldn't eat anything. I have a steak every morning. If I'm lifting, I have a little bit of carbs before and afterwards. Then as soon as afterwards, I have a little protein drink. I could never take these astronomical amounts of protein at one time. It just made me sick. So I take a little bit of protein, go home and eat.
What do you think of cinnamon donuts?
Fantastic if you don't look like yourself. Great if you look like me. That's one of my weaknesses is like pastries at night with milk. But nowadays I try to stay away, at least like when I'm out on vacation, of course. But you know right away if you're taking too many carbs, you feel bloated, your stomach sticks out, and all that. You think you're gonna feel good, but you end up having not as much energy.
Okay, 2 more questions?
Or whatever you guys want. You know, out there you can ask me anything too. Don't worry about it.
2 more?
Or tomorrow, as I'm walking around, if you didn't want to ask me anything tonight. Any questions? Anything? On anything?
I think it's been amazing to listen to you being the best ever, and for everyone here to know that, just baby steps, small gains, not let, someone else's total or big total define who you are.
Yeah, that's what people look at that.
They get overwhelmed, I want this total, this, and so they take a lot of shortcuts, they put their body through torture, and then they break down. But what I got out of this is, no matter what age, at a 20, 25-year career, small steps, I'm averaging 3 comps, after 5 years, 10 years, they're my gains. And with this sport, we're blessed that, the older that you can get stronger.
Definitely. Sometimes you might need you might need that 1 week where you back off a little bit to recover. But I actually never recommend taking off. There's always a way around it. Active rest is the best. Yep. The fastest way to heal an injury is to do the exact same exercise.
Me, man, not you.
Knucklehead back there. Yeah, the Greek fool back there. He tore his adductor and it looked like horrible and he's limping around. Yesterday I had him doing light squats with no weight. And how did it feel all of a sudden? 150%. Yeah. That's the best way because you want to get all when you get hurt. There's so much stuff released. You want to get all that crap out of there, all that dead blood and stuff like that. It has nothing. You want fresh supply in constantly. So you got to find a way to get it out. But actually, light exercise is the best.
Even for skeletal stuff.
Big difference then. Then it's more orthopedic.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be able to.
Did you hear that, Emmett?
Oh, he knows. See, just range of motion stuff. Like if he stuck a light mini band behind his arms and just played and did rep after rep after rep, that's good. That's good. You need blood supply and movement. So when his doctors give him the go ahead, that's therapy.
All right.
When I had my hip done, they busted my ass every single day so hard for 3 straight weeks afterwards. I could do a full split squat on a new hip 3 weeks afterwards. Because they worked it. All different ways. They didn't work it with all this crazy stretching and all this stuff that you think you do. They worked strength training, low rep stuff with machines. Hip flexion machines and stability ball stuff and walking up on a step. All low rep stuff for strength.
All right, well, I guess that'll
Okay.
just about wrap us up.
Any other questions, just ask me today, tomorrow, as long as I'm here.
All right.
All right.